Hi, this is Melanie of Pardesi Reviews, and I'm joined with Kahy of Cinema Podcast, and we're going to talk about Archies. Now, you may wonder, where's Melanie been? Well, if you can hear in my voice, I've had COVID for the last week. It was pretty bad, and I was down for the count. One of the days that I was lying on my couch, I did watch Archies. And I know Kahy did too, but I was not up to talking about it right when it released. So sorry it's delayed, but here we are.
You're forgiven.
Okay. So the key thing about Archies is not only that it's directed by Zoya Akhtar and her partner Reema Kagti, but that it is the launch of 3 Nepo babies. So we have Agastya Nanda, who is our Archie, Archibald Andrews, and he is the grandson of Amitabh Bachchan. He is the nephew of Abhishek Bachchan. So it's Abhishek's sister's son. Then we have Khushi Kapoor, who plays Betty. And Khushi is the younger daughter of Sridevi. And then we, of course, have Suhana Khan as Veronica, which I actually think was the best casting. And Suhana, this is her debut film. She is, of course, Shah Rukh Khan's daughter. So big expectations just because this is our first time seeing these young actors. And the problem is in Bollywood, you don't get to debut when you are a star kid as the secondary character on a nothing movie and work your way up. Like you have, unfortunately, you have to launch big.
Yep.
It's go big or go home. And Abhishek, Agastya's uncle, kind of crashed and burned with his debut. And the thing is, when you're a star kid, you get many, many chances.
That's true. You don't have to worry about paying your bills, so you can keep going.
You can keep going. Now, I know Suhana studied, I can't remember if she went to Columbia or NYU, but I mean, she studied acting in New York. Kudos to her to not just winging it in, but actually trying to get some education and training. Khushi Kapoor doesn't get to really show off so much of it, but I mean, she had classical dance training from her mother, who was one of the legends of screen. So then we have a bunch of other people who, are just also fresh faces. I think basically everybody in this is a fresh face. My favorite was Yuvraj Menda, who played Dilton or Dilly, our one gay character.
I love him.
And supposedly Zoya found him on Instagram. Like, I mean, so there was like a big search for not just, okay, we're going to put these star kids in, but we're going to have all fresh faces. And they actually went on a search to find some people. So other names, Mihir Ahuja is Jughead, Aditi, Saigal is Ethel. Like, I mean, these are people I have absolutely no clue about. Vedang Raina, I don't know if they have any connection to anybody. The ones that I know are the 3 top ones. So normally I really love anything that Zoya Akhtar does. I mean, I showed you Dil Dhadakne Do, the cruise ship romance family saga. That was amazing, right? Gully Boy, she did. You still have to see Luck by Chance, which I think you're going to love. The behind, making of movies kind of film. I know you're going to
love those.
So I asked one of my viewers, why Archies? Like, why would Archies be a thing in India? And he said when he was growing up that basically people in India didn't care about copyright. And if you were reading comics in India, like they were just reprinting all of the comics. And, they were just, whoever owns Archies was just like, they didn't care and didn't go after them. And so if you were reading in English, you were reading Archies or you were reading Richie Rich. I'm like, are you serious?
Richie Rich?
Yeah. But I mean, it just seems so iconically Americana, but So what Zoe has tried to do is place it in the Anglo-Indian community, which was a real thing, that evidently there are certain towns and certain areas where these small minority communities of, mixed of English ancestry and Indian ancestry families lived. And they did feel a little bit more Western, I guess.
Well, okay.
But it's just, I feel like so much was put into the production design of this movie. So much energy. And it looks beautiful.
It does. It looks really good.
I have no idea if it's authentic to anything or if it's just a fantasy world. Like I can't even tell you. I mean, I think some reviewers have said there is a story about the Anglo-Indian community, and this isn't it.
This was about the Archies. And, the Archies are comics, in case they have a little background. The Archies came out in 1967 as a comic book that came out. It was kind of based on, actually, the Monkees, the TV series, which came out in 1966. Really? Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So, the Monkees have continued. I mean,
Mike Nesmith.
Mickey Dolenz. I know. Mickey Dolenz continues to has made some solid albums lately.
Oh, yeah. He just did that whole cover of, was it Aria songs or whatever?
That stuff was great. So he was legit. Like a lot of people, the Monkees people kind of looked down on a little bit because everybody thought it was a manufactured band that wasn't really real, but they had some actual real musicians in this band.
I had no
Archies
idea
did not.
I had no idea. You are blowing my mind right now. Okay.
It saw the success of the Monkees, said we can do something with this, and so they made a comic book and they called it the Archies, and it was about these friends who, and I was more of a Scooby-Doo person. That I was because it was the horror thing, and I loved the dog and everything else. But Archies, I still look at Archies way past when they were popular, but it was still, they were a standard, and they had that great song that was a huge hit called Sugar Sugar. I was really hoping they were going to bring this into this movie, and they didn't, which I kind of wish. I would love to have seen an Indian version of that, which has been so great. But so I came into this knowing a little bit about that. And I was like, I wanted to see what kind of hat Jughead was going to wear, because he had a really weird hat in the comics. So that was cute that they kind of modernized him. And I thought he was really cute, but I really wanted him to grow a backbone a little bit more than he did. But I thought they did a very affectionate representation of the comic, and I think they did a really good job. I think the cast was really game. I thought they really tried. They were, but I feel like overall, and I don't know why, it just felt a little flat. I don't know.
Absolutely.
I don't know what happened there. I feel like the emotions didn't feel very deep. The relationships didn't feel real. Everybody just seemed, just not really fully invested in, and that's the writing. That's not the acting.
I totally agree. One of my friends said she felt like there was baking powder missing from the batter, that it just, everything was flat as like a pancake. Like it just didn't have that effervescence to it. It just didn't have that some magic element.
Yeah.
Now that you haven't seen yet, but there are other launch movies like Student of the Year, which I will subject you to at some point, where you're just like, you can see, that was Alia Bhatt's first movie. Karan Johar launched her, right? Love Triangle, whatever. Varun Dhawan and Siddharth Malhotra, our friend from Mud Gentleman. So like, I have nothing against watching like a high school love triangle or whatever. Like that's not what I have an objection to. It just, and was the story true to kind of what Archie's stories were? Yes, it was. There's a development in the town.
We have to save the park.
Save the, what I bet it's like the stakes were so low. There was no real emotion there, even though there was this love triangle. Like it ends up, which it frequently did in the comics, that Veronica and Betty are like, we're friends, screw you, Archie. Like, when you're not going to get either one of us. I don't know. Everything was so low stakes, and it just didn't go anywhere for me. Now, I don't really feel like the stars are getting, the young star kids are getting a lot of grief. And I just don't know that I can say that I can judge that Suhana Khan has no talent from this, because she didn't have that much to work with.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like if she was in a better written script, And I'm just really shocked that Zoya and Reema gave me something where I feel like all of their time and attention went into the costuming, the look of the town, all of that, and roller skate.
Yeah.
While the roller skate number was really fun, I mean, I just felt like all the energy was on this superficial stuff and not anything that was going to really make me care. It just was bland. Now, of the three, I would say Agastya, who played Archie, besides his can't decide which girl he likes character, I feel like the actor himself is super cute, probably more handsome than his uncle Abhishek, which is saying something.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's really got some kind of spark there, and I would be interested to see what else he has to do. No. Khushi, like Betty from the get-go, was bland.
Yeah.
So it's not a lot of there, right? And Suhana was fine, but I think part of what you and I are struggling with is if this was the first Archie's reboot since the comics and since the cartoons that used to play on Saturday morning cartoons for us, that would be one thing. But it isn't because Riverdale exists.
That's right. There's Riverdale, which is great because it's a horror version of the Archies, basically.
Okay, so I did not continue past the first season, but Riverdale exists. And when they were making this Archies, Riverdale exists. And so, you're like going like backtracking to blandness when we've already seen them take these characters, take them weird, amazing places. Like you say, Jughead is like hardly even a presence in this film.
Yeah.
And he's so central to Riverdale, and he's played so weird, and he has this whole backstory, and it's just like, right? Like, I mean, it just, I don't know. Like, I mean, that's the problem is partially I'm watching this and I can't just divorce and say, well, yeah, Riverdale's over here. No, it isn't just over here. Like, it's in my brain. I can't help it.
Well, it's a standard you have to reach. I mean, you've got one out in the world already. And also, I feel like sometimes this happens when someone is so, I mean, clearly she cares about this property. It must mean something to her.
Yeah.
But sometimes I feel like when you have something this like nostalgic for you and something you care about, you tend to like play it too safe because you don't want to do like, I don't want to offend, or, go against this character. I don't want to, do too much that's, gonna offend any of the fans. Like, it felt like it was a little bit afraid to push any of the limits on any of these characters. So we get this sort of, like you said, like the Veronica, who's like just dead behind the eyes, just kind of like the player coming and going, hi, Archie, I'm going to just come in and steal you away because that's what I do. And then Archie, who's like, I like all women. I don't have to settle down. I don't have to do anything. It's like,
and I'm not that troubled about it either. I'm just like, whatever.
And it wasn't even just Veronica and Betty. It was every woman. Like, he was like, basically, they say he dated everyone in town. And he even told his friend, I have no intention of settling down. And so what, are we supposed to root for him and Veronica? Are we supposed to root for him and Betty?
Let's just picture Ron Beer as this.
Exactly. He was. Rubber Kapoor could be the grown-up Archie. Let's totally be that. Oh my God. So that is what the deal is with that. So I felt like there was a little bit. Oh, sorry. I'll have to edit that. Can't use my phone for some reason. So I feel like part of it is, you have someone who's afraid to offend the legend, and the other part is where you should always try and offend the legend because you need to modernize it and to bring into the world. And that's not about making it present day. It's about like bring in, like you said, bring in some stakes, bring in some edge, bring in some energy, because everything was so like blah.
And it wasn't. Listen, I can watch things that are cotton candy, and it was just so like you could have something that still has some effervescence to it, something, right? Even if it's light. And I don't know, it just didn't have that. I also wonder, were there too many cooks in the kitchen, i.e.
all it did have that feel
of all these parents of these star kids having an input. Oh, you can't have my daughter do that, you can't have my son. I'm like, I don't know.
It did feel very controlled. It's like when I see a film and you can tell the studio interfered a lot with the original creative vision. Like, they'll come in and go, like, it happens a lot with like sequels. And, when Deadpool first came out, to compare Archies to Deadpool. When that came out, no studio gave a shit about it because they're like, no one's heard of Deadpool. No one cares. Do what you want. I don't know. So they backed away and they didn't do anything. So the movie ended up being great because he was edgy. It was kind of crazy. They pushed some limits. And so when the second one came out, you could feel like all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, I need to get involved because this is going to be big and we need to make sure it measures up. And so the original, creative forces were like, bye, I'm not going to work on this.
Mm-hmm.
So it did feel like that. It felt like a lot of voices in the background saying, I really think it should be more like this. I feel like it should be more like this. And so it felt very constrained. It felt just like, it felt very, and it's a shame because there was so much gorgeous set design and the wardrobe was so good. And you just felt like, just come alive. I just wanted
there were a few musical numbers that were super fun. Like I said, the roller skating, super fun. Never seen that in an Indian film before.
Right.
I mean, it's also kind of this weird thing where it's on Netflix, right?
Right.
It's a film, and when it was being marketed, I'm like, is this a series? Is this
I wasn't sure either.
I literally did not know until I opened it that day. I wasn't sure because I'm sure they call something a film when it's like a 6-episode something. Okay.
That's right. And I kept asking you, I keep saying show series because I keep confusing it. It probably would have been a good series.
I mean, it could have been. I don't know, but they would have had to have some cliffhangers in there.
A cliffhanger. I didn't really care about the park. They didn't really show the park enough for me to care. It was just kind of there. And when they said we have to stay at the park, I'm like, there's a park,
right? and then Archie is, absolutely has to go to London, and then suddenly he's not. Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, it was just.
I guess I won't now. It's like, wait a minute, what? I mean, you should still go. And the villain was cookie cutter. I didn't see anything new there, and it was too bad.
It was fine. I mean, I watched this when I had a fever and I wasn't feeling great. So at first I was just like, is it just me? Am I just not feeling it because I'm not feeling good? And I'm just not getting the joy from it the way I would. And then I started seeing other people's reactions, and I'm like, no, it wasn't just me. No, it was not just me.
And I was pretty excited to see it because I liked the marketing, and I thought the posters were great. I loved the nostalgic feel to it. I was looking forward to seeing the Indian flair and the cool dance numbers. But even the dance numbers were only okay to me. They weren't. Right. They didn't bring that extra sparkle that they could have brought, or that extra energy that I feel like this could easily have just not even been an Indian film, really. It just didn't have that extra flair that I was hoping that they would bring to it. I mean, it wasn't a total disaster. It just wasn't that exciting or fun to watch. It just was kind of like,
all right. So we're not going to beat a dead horse, but I'm just going to say I'm not writing off any of these young kids.
No, they were good.
I will watch whatever else they do because hopefully they will try harder and be in a better script. And it's just a lot of pressure when you have to lead something from your very first thing. It's a lot of pressure.
A lot.
And
the script is great.
And the other thing that I will say is, while there wasn't much there, but at least Zoya and Reema did put in the tiny little gay subplot where there was one scene where Reggie says to Dilly, I know how you feel about me. I don't feel the same way, but it's okay.
Yeah, that was cool. I did like that.
And listen, that is still groundbreaking. Okay. In Indian cinema, that's still groundbreaking to have that. And I really appreciated it. And I think Dilly was maybe my favorite character. I thought he was so sweet. Yeah. So I hope we see that actor again as well, and some other. Yeah. I don't know that he's going to get to lead a film, but I hope I will see his face again.
And that would have been a cool edge to add, is to pursue that and show him in a relationship, show him get what he wants. Like, they feel like that was kind of their little background. Oh, we're going to have this little spark here. And then they just kind of put it away as fast as they could. Like, no, come on, man. It's getting interesting all of a sudden.
Yeah. I don't know. So, I mean, it's disappointing for these Star Kids because it's just kind of getting bland kind of reviews. Yeah. I don't know that anybody hates it, but nobody loves it.
It was fine. It just wasn't.
It was just fine. That's the problem. Fine. So anyway, there's not that much more to talk about it other than it was fine.
It was
fine. So let us know what you thought about Archies. And if you did grow up in India, do you have nostalgia for reading the Archies comics as you were growing up? I was not a regular reader. It was kind of a special thing. I did not grow up in a very wealthy family, and it was only when we were going on a long car trip to visit relatives, I'm talking like 10 hours in the car, that my dad would go and buy us Archies and Richie Rich.
Yes,
And,
it was always travel. Me too. I was
yeah, and so it was a special occasion to be able to read them. I was not a regular reader. But anyway, I would love to know, did you grow up reading them in India, and what did you think of how did it adapt to your memories, your nostalgia of what the? I mean, I did feel like the plot was very Archie's, like, but there was just could have been a little something, something.
Yeah, it's just missing that, like you said, missing that like baking soda. Or whatever.
So let us know what you thought in the comments below, and again, don't forget to check out Cinema Podcast. We go back and forth. We did a song reaction just a few minutes ago for Solar. So if you want to see us, you have to check both places.
That's right. You have to find it everywhere.
All right. Thanks again, Kathy. Bye.
Bye.